Life doesn't always go according to plan. We tend to move through life with some general goals or ideas about where we're heading, but often we don't end up where we expected. And that's certainly the case for me. In this video, I want to give you a bit more detail about my story and why I continue to put videos out day after day. What if I told you the effects of a stroke I had nearly 33 years ago suddenly began improving a few months after I started Carnivore? I know it sounds impossible, but it happened. And I'd like to tell you exactly how. When I was early on my Carnivore journey, I made a video about how I'd had a stroke when I was 17 and how Carnivore had quickly started reversing symptoms that I thought were permanent. The comments I received on that video blew me away. One of the most common was, "I had a stroke, I'm doing Carnivore, it's helping me as well." So I wanted to share my full story with you, how it actually happened and how Carnivore is helping me now. It was Sunday, October 18, 1992. I was a 17-year-old. I was already working full-time at this point. I watched a movie on Sunday night, went to bed at 10:30 in preparation for work the following day. At this stage, I was still living at home, but I was living in a granny flat out the back of my parents' house. The following morning, Monday, October 19, I woke up feeling awful. I had a splitting headache. I couldn't walk straight. I just wanted to lie down. I remember stumbling around, eventually finding my way to the bathroom and feeling like, this is strange. Maybe I've got some kind of virus. I also remember noticing how time seemed to be moving more quickly, or maybe it was just me moving more slowly, and I really needed to hurry up and get ready for work. So I got into the shower, and then I got ready to leave. The reality of what had happened is I'd suffered a subarachnoid hemorrhage while I'd been asleep. While I'd been asleep, an aneurysm had burst in my head. Blood was leaking into my brain. The only thing that saved me was I have unusually thick blood, which clotted very quickly, which is why I woke up at all. So I'm finally ready. I leave. I walk through the main house without really talking to anyone, and I get to the train station. And that train station's a good 10-minute walk from where we lived, and by the time I got to the train station, I was exhausted. That walk did show me that there was a problem with my right side. It was now weaker, but I don't think I was thinking clearly, and so I kind of just ignored it. The train finally arrived, and I got on to make the 50-odd minute trip into the city. Something I remember now, but I didn't for over 2 decades until she reminded me, was a high school friend got on the train with me. She spoke to me and later told me there was something wrong with my face and what I was saying didn't really make sense. So the train eventually arrives at the station, and I walk from the station to the office, which involves climbing up a lot of stairs. And I'm feeling weaker and weaker on my right side. I'm the first one in the office, so I have to go in the back door and open up. And by the time I'm in the office, I stumble around and I'm feeling more confused and I'm getting weaker. And I remember tripping over a box that looked like one of those kind of musicians' instrument transport boxes. And at that point, I felt, there's something wrong. I can't even navigate my way around this box. And in that moment, I decided I need to go home. But again, I don't think I was thinking clearly. If your right side is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and you're feeling like you can't walk properly and you can't navigate your way around large objects, then it's a sign that you should probably call an ambulance, get to hospital. At the very least, jump in a taxi to get home. But I didn't do any of that. I left the office and I walked back to the station to catch the train home, which would be, after waiting for the train when it finally arrived, it would still be another 50 minutes to get home. Before I got on the train, I remember calling my mum on a payphone. And the thing I remember clearly about that call is she didn't seem to understand what I was saying, and I couldn't express myself. I was frustrated. Train finally arrives. I get on the train, and by the time we finally get back to my home station, I'm in pretty bad shape. I was now at what I guess was the lowest point, and that walk back from the home station to my house, that 10-minute walk was excruciating because my right leg wasn't functioning at all at the moment. It was functioning as a support. There was no motor activity in there. So I'm basically dragging the right side of my body behind me as I walk home. My mum takes one look at my face, puts me in the car, and we head to the doctor. The doctor does a thorough examination. He's checking in my eyes, he's testing my reflexes, he's doing all the things. And he announces that I have gastroenteritis. Take some Panadol, go home and rest. And so we took the doctor's advice, at least for the moment. And to be honest, I think when I got that advice from the doctor, I was a little bit relieved. He says, oh, it's nothing serious. Okay, this is going to go away. Despite having a niggling feeling as well that this doesn't feel like a typical case of gastroenteritis. So a few hours later, while I'm lying in bed, it gets worse. Mum wants me to go to another doctor. I don't. Probably something to do with I don't want to hear bad news. I don't want to end up in a hospital, that kind of thing. But I eventually give in when she gives me some food and I can't even use a knife. So we go back in the car, we head to another doctor. This doctor takes one look at my face and says, take him to the hospital now. We don't even have time to wait for an ambulance. So we race to the emergency department. I get a round of CT scans, and the next morning they come in and tell me that I've got a basilar artery aneurysm that ruptured. It was now clotted, so the bleeding had stopped, but they were going to have to do surgery and clip the aneurysm. They scheduled the surgery, but it kept getting pushed back. More urgent cases kept coming in, which meant I was in hospital for months. You see, because my aneurysm had clotted so well, I was no longer considered an emergency, so everyone else coming in was treated as a priority. The day of the operation came and my anxiety is off the charts. As part of this operation, they're going to have to do a bypass, which means I won't only have to recover from surgery on my head, I'll also have my chest split open and have to recover from that too. I remember giving my mother and my father a telephone call from my bed that morning. I was then given something to help me relax, and I was wheeled down to the operating room. When they finally opened me up, they realized they couldn't reach the aneurysm. It was deeper than they expected. It was too far away. It was something that they hadn't expected. They deemed it too risky, and so they closed me back up again. I'd still need to recover from the head surgery, but I'd escaped the bypass. My neurosurgeon didn't give up. He came back a week or so later and he said, there's a new procedure. It's experimental, but it might work, and it's your only option. The trial was happening at just one hospital on the other side of the country. So I flew across the country, signed the consent forms, and had the procedure. A radiologist threaded a catheter through my artery and into my brain, then inserted platinum coils into the aneurysm. The coils stopped the blood flow and sealed it shut. The operation was a success, but the damage from the stroke remained. For 30 years, I lived with the side effects. My gait was off, I limped, my right side was weak. Tripping over my right foot became a normal thing for me. As a public speaking trainer who often had to see themselves in training videos, I would cringe watching myself walk across the stage. I had brain fog, I couldn't always focus, conversations were harder to track than they had been, and I struggled to stay focused on tasks. I lost my decisiveness, I'd hesitate, delay, all things that never used to be a problem. And then June 2022, I started Carnivore. Within weeks, things changed. My limp improved. It's still there, but my control has improved dramatically. The brain fog lifted, my thinking is clearer, my attention is sharper, I make decisions faster, I'm more confident, less hesitation. Back to the old me. And of course, with Carnivore, there are other benefits too. Less hunger, more energy, of course, weight loss. But for me, the big win is this. I'm healing from something that happened to me decades ago. Healing that I never imagined was possible. My experience was why I originally spoke out about carnivore. The reason I continued speaking out was because of the feedback I received. Other people who had success following strokes. People improving their lives that had previously been plagued by depression and anxiety. People giving up a lifetime of medications because they no longer had type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure. There are hundreds of thousands of people around the world suffering from conditions that may not be cured by carnivore, but carnivore can at least give their bodies a fighting chance. Remember, the body is capable of things that we don't fully understand, especially when we get out of the way and stop feeding it poison. And speaking of poison, to find out how we got here, watch this video next.